The information provided on this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. Reliance on any information provided here is solely at your own risk. Welcome to the Birth Baby Podcast. Each week, you'll find guidance, encouragement, and practical tools to support you through pregnancy, birth, and the postpartum journey. I'm your host, Ciarra Morgan, a certified birth and postpartum doula, hypnobirthing educator, and pediatric sleep consultant. I'm also the owner of a doula agency in Austin, Texas, and the founder of the Birth Baby Academy, where I offer classes for both parents and birth professionals. Thanks for being here. Hello, everyone. Today I have Moriel Levy with me. She is the owner of Juniper Babyproofing, an Austin-based company helping families make their homes safer for little ones. Hilarious because you come from an engineering background. I used to work at a civil engineering firm. So she's a chemical engineer and a mom of a two-year-old. Yeah. She brings both personal experience and childproofing knowledge to relate to her clients and help them find the right safety solutions for their homes. And she also has a really awesome social media presence where she does a lot of education. So thank you so much for being here today with me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be on the podcast.
Yeah, I get asked about baby proofing quite a bit. A lot of parents are really worried about this when they have a little one that's going to be entering their home, or as their little one gets older, they hadn't quite thought of it yet, and they reach back out to me and they're like, do you know anybody that can help with this? Because it can seem a little bit overwhelming. So what does baby proofing really mean beyond just like outlet covers and cabinet locks?
So baby proofing is really about thinking, what are the biggest hazards in your home and how do you mitigate them? Because the way a baby moves about in your home is just different from how an older kid or an adult would. And so you just have to have a really different mindset. And the reality is, like, you cannot bubble wrap your baby. I tell parents this all the time, like, you definitely cannot bubble wrap your toddler. So when we're baby proofing, we're not eliminating every possible hazard ever. We're really thinking, like, what are the most dangerous things that we want to address and give ourselves the opportunity to keep our kids away from those things. So those things are going to be like stairs that a kid could fall down, pieces of furniture that they could climb up and the furniture could fall on them. Ingesting something dangerous like chemicals or cleaning supplies, those sorts of things, batteries. These are the things that are going to send your kid to the ER, create a serious injury that you actually have the opportunity to prevent when you're baby proofing your home. So that's like the biggest mindset that I have. The other side of it that I think is also important is that it's also peace of mind. It's also making your parenting life a little bit easier. So for example, like in my own house, I have gates on my stairs, but then I also have a gate that goes to my mudroom, which connects to a corridor, which goes to my laundry room. That's not like a safety essential, but it keeps my kid in the kitchen, living room area where I can see him. And he can't just like escape into a corridor. So it's like a parenting life upgrade. So there's two sides to baby proofing. Obviously, the most important is hazard mitigation, but there's also like making your parenting life better.
I love that perspective. I think a lot of people don't think about that. And you're like, you won't have to helicopter around so much chasing your kiddo if you make the area that they're going to be in safe enough for them to be in. So what is the best time for people to start baby proofing their home?
Okay, so the best time I would say is when your kid turns 6 months, they're not mobile yet, and you have time. You have time to start researching the products, figuring out what you need in your own house, putting it up because it does take time. You're a busy parent. There's going to be a lot going on in your life. The realistic time is I get calls from parents. Their kid is 8 or 9 months. They're starting to get really mobile. Oh my gosh, I need to baby proof. And that's what I did too with my son. So it's the most normal thing is to be like, oh, there's this problem right in front of me. Like, let's solve it. And of course, your kid is not going to go from slowly army crawling to running overnight. Like you have some amount of time. But yes, when your kid starts getting mobile, that is the time to really start investing your time and energy in baby proofing. There's also a couple of milestones later on to think about with childproofing. So when you're baby proofing your house, closing a door might be sufficient for a kid who's 8 or 9 months old. Oh, they can't get into that space now. 13 to 14 months, a lot of kids can start opening doors with handles. Yep,
oh yeah, they reach up.
Grab in. It's interesting. It does something, cause and effect, right? And then at maybe closer to 2, kind of depending on the door, the knob doors, they can start opening. So baby proofing, it's kind of a continuous mindset of like, what is my kid doing now? What's changed? And making the updates that are going to help that. The other big one that comes up is toddler rooms. So when a kid transitions from a crib into a toddler bed, that room is now you have to think about like the room is the crib, right?
I always
like
say that. I'm a sleep consultant too.
Passively safe.
Yes. I always say, like, you have to, if your kid is climbing out of their crib and you think you want to put them into a bed, get ready because now you have to make the room into a crib.
Yes, the room is the crib. And so that's like, and if for some, I feel like you'll probably see this as a sleep consultant. Sometimes kids stay in their crib until they're 3. And I'm like,
do it. Keep them there.
Keep them in there. But my son climbed out of his crib at 20 months. I think that's pretty normal. And so that's just something to be aware of in that time frame, that they'll get curious, interested, have the physical abilities. And then you have to think about like, it's like a different level of childproofing in that room, even than in your house where they're like supervised. So yeah.
I think that this is probably going to be a little bit relieving for parents because I think a lot of them think you're supposed to do it when you're pregnant or right after you have a baby. And that gives you a little bit of a time buffer. You don't have to be panicking about it so much. When you first started, you said, you kind of have to think about it differently because it's not the same as an older kid. It's literally you have to get on their level. What size are they? What are they capable of getting into? I remember at my mom's house, we were not worried about anything for a long time. And then all of a sudden he got so tall that we're like, ooh, he's so close to hitting his head underneath that cabinet on the island of the kitchen. And like all of a sudden that spot was scary, So what are the most common hazards you see that families overlook?
Oh my gosh, this list could be like so long because every house has so many like different little specifics to it.
Give me a top couple.
But I'll give you a top couple. So the one that always really surprises people is door stops. So the tips of door stops will often come off. And you know how kids like to boing, boing on the door stops? And so what you really don't want is this small choking hazard size tip to come off and them to eat it right away and then choke. And you're not even paying as much attention. They're not at the table. You're not thinking about eating and choking. So that's something like you want to replace that with a single piece doorstop. It's less fun because they're usually like, they don't boing anymore. But it's a lot safer. One of the ones that comes up, is at the top of the stairs. Like you're going to put a gate at the top of your stairs for sure, but you also have to look at, your balusters and you have to see what is the distance between them. And you want it to be 3 inches or less. Because if it's more than that, your kid, you think, oh, there's no way they could fit through that. The problem is their body could fit through that and their head couldn't. So they could fall through and get trapped. And that's like a really scary thought. So you can put up like mesh or you can do polycarbonate, which looks really good to prevent that. And then even more so, I'll see, and I'm like, builders, don't do this. Like they put, horizontal railings instead of like the normal vertical ones. Like, but you just made a ladder for a kid to climb up at the top of the stairs and come down the other side. I mean, it's terrifying.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think of it.
That's it. You just go into someone's house and you're like, oh, and also you need to do this.
Nice.
Like, wait, yes, okay, good point,
Wow.
So that's something that I see like a lot, especially like the black metal ones that just, it looks really great. Honestly, I get why they do it. Yeah, it's like you have to think about that too. Yeah, so those are just some common ones. I also, it's not really like a product as much as like a mindset of remotes. So people will leave their remotes on the couch or whatever, but they have batteries in them.
Yeah.
A lot of them have button batteries, which are like the really concerning ones. And so, and they're not necessarily like newer remotes, like maybe they're a little harder to open, but some like older, smaller ones can be super easy to open, and kids like to play with them because the buttons do stuff. Like you want to put your remotes like up on your fireplace mantle, or like on a high windowsill, or get like a little remote holder that's high, and always keep your remotes there, because that's not a thing you want your kid to play with, because it's not a toy. Like toys that have batteries in America, generally, I'm not going to go into that, but in general, they're locked properly and you need a screwdriver to take out the batteries. So they're safer for children. Not always true with remotes. And so it's something that you don't even think about in your home. That's just like a hazard lying there in front of your kid.
I don't think I ever thought of that. Yeah. So, I mean, this could seem really overwhelming for someone, right? They're like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. What would you say parents should prioritize if they're just starting this, like biting it off into kind of pulling it off into bite-sized pieces? What would be the things that you would say to prioritize first?
I have like a number one top rec, and that is if you have a pool, fence in your pool.
Oh, yes.
Drowning, yes. And drowning is just one of leading causes of injury and death in kids under 5. Pools are just like big hazards. They're wonderful. They're so fun. But number one thing is call a local professional company to come out and put a fence around your pool with a self-closing gate. It's really like the number one thing, worth every penny that you would spend on that.
Yeah, I'm going to give a trigger warning here real quick before I say this. It is about drowning of children, but you just reminded me of something that I hadn't thought of in a long time. Another thing that parents oftentimes don't think about is toilets. So my stepdad is an artist, and he was in someone's home doing a mural, and that takes weeks. And at some point during that time period, he wasn't there at the time that this happened, but their little toddler took a little play boat that he had in his room and played with it in the toilet water and leaned forward to grab it. And they're top heavy, and he went over and he drowned in their toilet. So people don't think about toilet safety, and that is a little bowl of water that is just, that is a drowning hazard as well. So add that to your list of, unlocked a new fear. Unfortunately.
It is.
Yeah. So pools,
unfortunately, it's like the list of things to think about is long, and it takes time. Yeah. So pools is top tip. And then after that, it's really back to that mindset of like, what is baby proofing, about mitigating like the scariest thing. So you go through your house and you think, what are the things, like based on where we play most often, like where we spend time, like what are the things that are going to be the most hazardous? So I would say my ordered list would probably be stairs, furniture anchors, and then cabinet locks, and then going on from there. But, you mentioned toilet locks. Like if you have a bathroom that's, you don't close the door regularly, or it's really close to the kid's room, like your house is going to have its own configuration, and you play in certain areas and some your kid never goes in. So you think about it in that order, and then start systematically going through, whatever it is for you every weekend, and hitting that order until you feel like you've mitigated things. And there are things you can do. Like I tell people with cabinet locks, you're like, oh, it's going to take me time to research, install, whatever. I'm like, okay, well, your cleaning products, they don't have to live under your sink. Like societally, that's what we do, but like they could live on the top shelf of your pantry. So that could be your temporary or permanent solution to childproofing that without having a ton more work to do. It's just like grab it and put it up there, and like you've created a safer space when you do that.
I love that. Thinking outside of the box a little bit to make it a little easier on yourself as a parent.
Yeah.
Awesome. So
Yes.
some people, no matter how small the list to start with, it's going to feel really overwhelming. Some people feel like I can absolutely DIY this. What would you say? Do people mostly DIY this? What would be the benefits of having somebody come in and do this as a professional, hiring a professional? How could people determine what was the best one for them?
Yeah, I think the biggest reason that people will bring in a professional, even if they think they want to DIY, is if they have like a really tricky stairway and they're like, I just cannot figure out how to put a gate on this. Like I've done my research. I know what type of gate is, I want to do a hardware mounted gate. That's like the safest, but I can't find the right stud, or I have a beautiful like oak baluster and I don't want to drill into it. Is there an alternative? Like these are things that a professional childproofer, like we're just going to have like tricks, like a bag of tricks on stairs.
Help you solve the puzzle.
To solve the stair puzzle. So like even if someone's going to DIY everything, they're often still going to call in a childproofer for gates. And that, like, we see that really often, and that's like totally expected. So that's like the number one reason. Then the next thing I'll say is, even if you're going to DIY, it's worth considering doing an evaluation with a professional childproofer, because they're going to point out the hazards you didn't think about. So maybe it's the toilet locks, the door stops, the, banister that's a stairs, like whatever it is, like that you didn't think of. And I'll do this, I'll do an evaluation and someone say, okay, we like this side of DIY. I'm like, yeah, no worries. Like, I'm glad I was able to help you basically make the list. That's what childproofers do. You kind of hand the client a list. This is all the things I recommend. You let me know what you want to do.
Yeah.
So that's something to consider if you're overwhelmed, but thinking of DIYing. Yeah.
It's like a consultation.
And then, yeah. It is. It's a consultation. There's a list of things. And something I do, and I know some other childproofers do, is we also even do a home safety checklist that's not baby proofing necessarily, but it is things like, do you have fire extinguishers? And just kind of giving like a safety thought process to the home that maybe hasn't been done before. When was the last time you tested your carbon monoxide detectors, and do you have one near your child's room? They sleep lower to the ground sometimes on their beds than we do, things like that. So, it's really a consultation, and there's like an opportunity there, even if you're going to DIY, to ask a professional childproofer to do the initial consultation. And therefore you have a list, and that, like, even just having a list can cut down on the overwhelm. And then from there, it's all about like, how much time and energy do you have to put into this yourself? If you're the person who likes to DIY, then you totally should do it. And if you are putting off making your home safer because you never have time, like, just think about, like, is that really what you want? Right. And that's where a professional is just taking that burden off your plate, and helping you get things done. Like, even if you could have done it yourself, like, there's other things that you might want to spend your time on. So that's where that kind of decision just becomes personal to each family.
I love the consultation concept so much, because before talking to you, I actually hadn't even considered that. I just figured you bring in a baby proofer, they do all the work. I didn't actually realize that just a consultation was an option, and then you can DIY. But it's like you don't know what you don't know. It's kind of like, nobody's going to give birth for you, but somebody can help you know how to, like a doula. They can kind of walk you through the process. You're not hiring them to do it for you. You're hiring them to coach you through it. So it's a little bit of a coaching you through it, because they might have missed 5 out of 10 things that you picked up in their home that still needed to be baby proofed that they had missed. So that's really, really cool. What about grandparents or caregivers' homes where babies only visit occasionally? Would you have any tips for them on things to do? It might be the same thing as the top tips that you gave us on if you're taking it into bite-sized pieces, but would those same things like the stairs and the cabinets be your same tips?
Yeah, I have like a couple of thoughts on houses that you're not in all the time. And I'm thinking of like spaces that, like, that's like a grandparent you're going to visit regularly, as opposed to like an Airbnb that you're in, one time and then you're never back. I'll start by saying, like, all of baby proofing is really underscored by the fact of, like, baby proofing does not replace adult supervision, right? It's a tool to help the home be safer. But if you're in a place that's not childproof and not set up for kids, like supervision is your tool. And having taken my kids to, family members' houses that are cluttered with breakable, china, like it's hard, right?
Yeah.
But, if it's a grandparent house that you're going to be going to a lot, like there are a couple things that I would recommend. So for doors, there's a product I like called Hug Lock, which is like you slide it onto the door and then the doors won't open without a parent opening them, but you can always deactivate them or just slide them off. So they're not active all the time. For cabinet locks, there's a cabinet lock called the Kidco Swivel Lock or the Revlock magnetic locks. Both of those can be deactivated. Actually, I know that Kidco one, some childproofers call it colloquially the grandparent lock because you activate it when the kids are around. But then as a grandparent, you don't want to have to use that every time you open your cabinet if your grandkids are only visiting every once in a while. So then you deactivate it. So that's one. And then furniture anchors I would still do since they're not visible, especially if a kid is going to be like napping or sleeping in one of the rooms. Like you want to make that room safe. And gates, even hardware mounted gates, they usually have a pretty easy mechanism to remove the gate, but leave the mounting hardware up. So you can put up the gate and then when the kids leave, you just take off the gate, put it in the closet and then put it back on when they're back. So all of this would be for a house that you're going to every once in a while, but you still want to invest in some childproofing time because you're there. Maybe grandparents are graciously babysitting once a week or something. So that would be worthwhile in my mind.
You just reminded me when my son was little, we had the locks on our cabinets where you could make it where it's locked right now or not. Like there's a little switch you can do inside. And we used that even though it was in our home full time because when we were cooking, we didn't want to have to keep using that dang magnet to open the door.
All the time. Yes.
So just while we were cooking or in the kitchen actively doing something, we would undo that rather than having to leave the cabinet open the whole time and save time. But then we could go back and reactivate those. So that can even be a benefit to people when it's in the house that you're in all the time.
That's such a natural way of looking at baby proofing. You don't want your kid to be in a drawer when you're not looking, but you live in the house too. So it has to be convenient for you to be in your house, cook, etc. So I love that perspective.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, now I'm like, I should have called a baby proofer, even though I wanted to DIY. I should have done the consultation piece. So can you tell listeners where to connect with you or find reliable resources on child safety? And I'll also put these things on the show notes as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I'm at Juniper Babyproofing on Instagram. You can follow me for some educational content there. And then if you're in the Austin area, you can take a look at my website, juniperbabyproofing.com. And if you use the code BIRTHBABY, you can book your consultation 50% off. So I would love to come visit you in your house and help you think through these hazards, whether you want my help to install or you're choosing to DIY. Either way, I would love to come help you with a consultation. Beyond that, I would recommend the Baby Safety Alliance certifies a lot of products, and they have what they call a Baby Safety University, which has some really reliable resources on child safety. And then the association that I'm a member of is called the IAFCS, International Association for Child Safety. So their website is a great place to go to find a local childproofer near you if you're not in Austin, and reach out. And I would encourage you, even if there's not a childproofer in your town directly, to reach out. A lot of childproofers will travel, or they might do a virtual evaluation. Even if they won't come and do your install, they can give you a lot of advice through that. So I would definitely check out that website to see all the different childproofers around the country.
Wow, that's awesome. This was such a great episode. This is so fun because my favorite part is that I always learn something new. And I learned a lot new today here. So thank you so much for coming on and talking to me. And I look forward to working with you again soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was great to be able to share a little bit with your listeners. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to follow, rate, and review the podcast. It helps us reach more families who can benefit from this resource. For more resources, classes, and services, head to empoweredbeginningsatx.com or check out the Birth Baby Academy at birthbabyacademy.com. Until next time, wishing you confidence and calm on your journey through birth and beyond.